Hey guys, my name is Krista Tippett. For my intervention, I targeted making appropriate joining statements to join conversations while simultaneously decreasing the latency of time needed to fulfill a meaningful target number of conversational exchanges. My client is a 10-year-old boy with autism. We will refer to him as Mark, and he lives with his parents and his brother. So the idea of the intervention was to employ a 10-minute conversational period in which Mark was to make as many joining statements as possible. And for the purpose of this study, the joining statement is defined as the occurrence of a substantial comment or question that is relevant to or an appropriate transition away from the current topic of conversation within 10 seconds, and it must be directed at an individual whom was speaking to the entire group or was not speaking directly to Mark. So frequency data was collected as well as latency data. So the frequency recorded was each time that Mark made an appropriate joining statement, and the latency was the time between the onset of conversation and how much time it took to get 7 appropriate statements. So during baseline, Mark did not meet this goal at all. The highest number of statements he made in a 10-minute period during baseline was 6. You can see here the data sheet used for joining conversations. So we took the antecedent, which was whoever spoke behavior, what was said by Mark, and then the consequence, whether somebody responded to or appropriately answered his question. VP over here is verbal praise. So just to check or minus if verbal praise was delivered in addition to the continuous reinforcement response. So we found that during baseline, like I said, there were minimal amounts of joining conversation statements. Mark has a tendency to stray off or change topic inappropriately. Therefore, during intervention, we implemented a token economy reinforcement system. For every occurrence of an appropriate joining statement, he was given 1 token. Following the completion of the 10-minute conversation, Mark would then be given 1 minute of free time for each appropriate statement made. It should be noted that he only chose going to the playground and playing on the iPad as his reinforcers. So then you can see here the frequency of joining statements. So the frequency, this is my frequency graph. During baseline, there was minimal frequency. And then once the token intervention was implemented, he started to show an increase. However, limitations here are is in this AB reversal design, when the token reinforcement was removed, he continued to maintain the behavior at an unexpected rate. However, when the intervention was reintroduced, the behavior continued to increase. And then here we can see the latency graph. During baseline, since he never made it just the target number of 7 appropriate statements, his baseline was 10 minutes for latency. Once the intervention was introduced, he was able to make 7 appropriate statements within a shorter period of time. In addition to the frequency, during the reversal design, the behavior seemed to be maintained but continued to decrease throughout the reintroduction of the intervention. So, limitations here are that the behavior seemed to be maintained too quickly or acquired too quickly. And when compared to the initial baseline condition, the first treatment condition demonstrated an increase.